just look for a moment at President Trump and Joe Biden. Biden has not yet been officially determined to be President Trump's opponent as a Democratic nominee, but of course he's the presumptive nominee. And he did a fundraising call yesterday with a group of Jewish donors. It was widely reported. I did not participate in that call, so these are all secondhand media reports. But there were two things of interest that Biden said that I'd like you to comment on, please. The first is he condemned President Trump for not sufficiently opposing anti-Semitism and its rise, even here in the United States. Now, I ask you this because after the worst anti-Semitic attack, maybe in American history, in Pittsburgh 2 years ago, 11 Jews murdered, you were the one that President turned to comfort the community. Even though you had the Middle East portfolio, you went there personally. I remember at the time. Then the president went. He was accompanied by the Israeli ambassador, our dear friend Ron Dermer. And I thought that the president could not have been more condemnatory. I thought the president could not have been more solicitous of Jewish feeling and sensitive to Jewish grief. And when you see a president who has Jewish grandchildren, and you're close to Jared, and all the things that have happened in the White House, including so many overtly observant Jews who now serve on the vice president's staff, the president's staff, and it has no precedent in American history. And I'm not saying this to even condemn Biden. I genuinely want to hear, now that you're out of the administration, how does that make you feel when you hear people like Joe Biden condemning the president for not sufficiently tackling anti-Semitism?
I didn't hear his comments. I actually didn't see them reported. So I'll answer as if I'm answering for anybody who makes that kind of statement, whether it was Joe Biden or anybody else, because I've heard it from leaders like Joe Biden, and I've heard it from ordinary people. I guess I have 4 words: pure propaganda, pure rubbish. Maybe I'll add another 2, pure political. I deal in facts. I deal in personal experience. I'm a man who, as you know, worked for President Trump for 23 years, very closely. Our offices were 2 doors apart. I lived and breathed the Trump organization. And all I saw out of him and his family, by the way, but we're talking about the president, was deep respect for me being an observant Jew, deep respect for the Jewish faith, deep respect for when I had to take off for holidays in the middle of large transactions. If you want to talk about his actions while he was president, he ripped up the Iran deal, which was an existential threat to the state of Israel, not just the state of Israel, of course, the entire region, but what could be more important to the Jewish people than the safety and security of the Jewish state of Israel? Let's look to last year, 2018's speech in Congress. Was there ever a president in a State of the Union who ever spoke so eloquently, so frequently during the course of the speech, so beautifully, so warmly about the Jewish people? He condemns anti-Semitism. Let's talk about the executive order that he signed in December at the Hanukkah party, which will help our young children. I have 3 in college. Thankfully, none of them face this anti-Semitism, but there are so many of our young college students who are facing tough times on campus. So he signed an executive order that's going to help them battle that. Time and time again, he has stood by the Jewish people. He has stood by the state of Israel. People try to lay anti-Semitism at his feet. That is an absurdity. And I take it personally just because I've had the 23 years of experience with him as both a friend, a supporter of Jews, and I think that people ought to stop using that as a political card.